Court officer made black man wait outside, then froze as the judge silenced the room. The courthouse steps were cracked, worn by years of footsteps and small-town secrets. Marcus Tate stood there, his cheap suit clinging to his frame, the fabric too thin for the biting autumn wind. He was 32, a mechanic with hands calloused from years of wrenching engines. But today his fingers trembled not from cold but from the weight of what lay ahead. He'd come to fight a parking ticket minor infraction. $50 at most, but the real battle was etched in the court officer's sneer as he blocked the entrance. "Wait here," Officer Daniel Holt had barked, his voice sharp as a blade. "We're full inside." Marcus glanced through the glass doors. The waiting room was half empty. The officer's eyes, cold and gray, lingered on Marcus like he was a stain on the town's pristine facade. This was Oak Ridge, a place where progress moved slower than molasses, where black folks were tolerated but never welcomed. Marcus had felt it his whole life, the sidelong glances, the whispered slurs, the way store clerks followed him like he'd steal the air itself. But today was different. Today he wasn't just fighting a ticket. He was fighting for his dignity. Holt stood firm, arms crossed, his badge glinting like a challenge. Marcus squared his shoulders, his heart pounding but his voice steady. "I've got a hearing at 10. I'm not standing out here all day." Holt's lip curled, a silent dare. "You'll wait till I say so." The words weren't just an order, they were a wall, built brick by brick from years of unchecked power. Passers-by slowed, their stares prickling Marcus's skin. A white woman clutched her purse tighter. A man in a trucker hat muttered something to his friend, and they both laughed. Marcus felt the weight of their eyes, each one a reminder of his place in their world. Minutes dragged into an hour. The wind stung his face, but Marcus refused to move. He thought of his mother, who'd raised him alone after his father left, her words echoing. "You hold your head high, no matter what they throw at you." He'd promised her he'd fight, not just for himself but for every black kid in Oak Ridge who'd been told they didn't belong. His resolve hardened, but so did Holt's stance. The officer's radio crackled, but he ignored it, his gaze locked on Marcus like a predator sizing up prey. Then, a new figure emerged from the crowd. Lila, a young white woman in her 20s, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, a notepad clutched to her chest. She was a local reporter, barely known, but her eyes burned with something Marcus recognized: hunger for truth. She'd been watching from the sidewalk, her pen scribbling furiously. "Officer, why's he out here?" she called, her voice cutting through the tension. Holt flinched, unaccustomed to being questioned. "Mind your business," he snapped, but Lila stepped closer, undeterred. "This is my business. He's got a right to be inside." The crowd stirred, some nodding, others glaring. Marcus felt a flicker of hope, but also dread Lila's boldness could make things worse. Holt's face reddened, his authority challenged in front of a growing audience. "You don't get it, do you?" he hissed at Marcus, stepping closer. "People like you don't just waltz in here." The words were a slap, raw and unfiltered. Marcus's fists clenched tighter, his pulse roaring in his ears. He wanted to shout, to push past, but he knew one wrong move could land him in cuffs or worse. Lila's pen paused, her eyes darting between the two men. She scribbled again, her presence a quiet rebellion. The courthouse doors swung open, and a clerk poked her head out. "Tate, Marcus? You're up." Holt's jaw tightened, but he stepped aside, his eyes promising retribution. Marcus walked in, head high, feeling the officer's stare boring into his back. Lila followed, slipping into the courtroom, her notepad now a weapon. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of old wood and older grudges. Judge Eleanor Grayson, A black woman in her 50s with silver streaks in her hair sat at the bench, her presence commanding silence. Marcus took his seat, his heart still racing from the confrontation outside. Holt stood by the door, arms crossed, his smugness unshaken. The hearing began. The ticket explained a minor violation. A clerical error Marcus had proof to dispute. But as he spoke, Holt coughed loudly, a deliberate disruption. The judge's eyes flicked to him, sharp as a hawk's. "Officer Holt," Judge Grayson said, her voice low but piercing. "Do you have something to add?" Holt straightened, caught off guard. "No, Your Honor." But his tone carried defiance, a challenge to her authority. The room tensed, every eye on the judge. Marcus held his breath, sensing the shift. Grayson leaned forward, her gaze locking onto Holt. "I understand Mr. Tate was made to wait outside for over an hour. Care to explain?" Her words were calm, but they carried the weight of a gavel. Holt's confidence faltered, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. "It was crowded, Your Honor." The lie hung heavy, exposed by the half-empty benches around them. The judge's eyes narrowed. "Crowded? Or did you decide Mr. Tate didn't belong?" Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Lila's pen flew across her notepad, her face alight with vindication. Marcus's chest tightened. This wasn't just about him anymore. Grayson continued, her voice rising with controlled fury. "This court stands for justice, not prejudice. You, Officer Holt, have disgraced that principle." The room fell silent, Holt's face draining of color. He stood frozen, a man stripped bare by truth. Then came the twist. Lila stood, her voice trembling but clear. "Your Honor, I've been documenting this. Officer Holt's done this before last month. He turned away a Latino family. I have names, dates." She held up her notepad, pages filled with meticulous notes. The crowd murmured, the air electric with shock. Holt's eyes widened, his authority crumbling. Marcus stared at Lila, gratitude and awe mixing in his chest. She wasn't just a bystander, she was a catalyst, her quiet courage shifting the tide. Judge Grayson nodded, her expression unreadable but her resolve clear. "Officer Holt, you're suspended pending investigation. Mr. Tate, your ticket is dismissed, and this court apologizes for the injustice you faced today." Marcus exhaled, relief flooding him, but it was bittersweet. The victory wasn't just his, it was for Lila, for his mother, for every person who'd been pushed to the margins. As Marcus left the courthouse, the crowd outside had grown. Some clapped, others whispered, but Lila was there, her notepad tucked away, a small smile on her face. "Keep fighting," she said softly. Marcus nodded, his heart full. The wooden signpost still stood, its handwritten note, "Justice delayed." One man's fight against hate, now a beacon of hope. The battle wasn't over. Oak Ridge would take time to change, but today, a crack had formed in its walls of prejudice. Marcus walked away, not just a mechanic, but a man who'd stood his ground and won, not by fists but by refusing to be invisible. What do you think? Where does justice begin? And how do we confront the biases that divide us?